Hi everyone, I'm Olivia J and I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast again, titled A Day with Olivia J, based out of Los Angeles. Here is where I talk about real life topics, entertainment, politics, whatever, just plain stuff. I don't want to be limited to what I talk about on this podcast, so we will talk about whatever I feel, whatever you feel, just plain on stuff. My goal for this podcast is to inspire and educate everyday people like myself. Now, let's get to it. Let's talk. Topic of today: racism never died in Virginia. Today we're going to talk about the racism that took place in the protests in Charlottesville. Basically, white nationalists, white supremacists, Ku Klux Klan, skinheads, white trash, whatever you want to call them, they basically came against and expressed their frustration against the city because the city planned to take down this statue of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Okay, what is racism? Racism is prejudice, discrimination directed against someone of a different race based on the beliefs that one's own race is superior. So basically the riot and the violence erupted and before the whole protest even started. Okay, let's go back. Who is Robert E. Lee? Who is this statue that they did not want to be taken down? Who is this person? Robert E. Lee was a Confederate Army general who basically ran the American Civil War back in 1862 in Northern Virginia. Not only was he a general in the Army during the Civil War, he was best known for owning slaves, a slave owner of black African Americans. Okay, so basically that statue symbolized a person that was racist. It's a symbol of racism. And that's what they want to stay up. Okay, let me give you a little background about him. His mother wasn't a wealthy person. He didn't come from wealth, but when she died, she did leave him slaves. The only thing that she could leave him that he inherited was slaves. He also married this lady whose father were very wealthy. Her family was very wealthy, and he owned many slaves. And when the father died, he left his daughter and Robert E. Lee the slaves. And his documentation stating how Robert E. Lee was very cruel to the slaves. You keep in mind it was a Civil War, so when the slaves would flee and leave, run away for freedom, he would go retrieve them or have his overseers to go find them. And once Robert E. Lee found the slaves, he would have them to beat the slaves unmerciful. So it's documentation stating how he was very cruel to the slaves. So this is the man that the statue reflects. A statue that symbolizes racism. But most of all, during this protest and this rally, it was a tragedy. The young lady by the name of Heather Hare ran over and killed. Basically, one of the white nationalists got in his car, seen a crowd of people that was protesting to take the statue down, and he ran them over. He injured other people, but he killed Heather Hare. Heather Hare was a white young lady that was an activist that stood against racism. All she wanted was everybody to be treated fairly, and she lost her life standing up for what she believed in. Everybody spoke so highly about Heather. She was a paralegal. Her boss spoke how she always wanted to help people. She was an advocate for people. Her mother, her friends spoke how Heather was just an awesome person. When this all took place and the violence erupted, after the young lady lost her life, everybody wanted President Donald Trump to stand up and denounce bigotry and violence and racism. In the beginning, he didn't say anything right away like you would had expected him to. And when he did hold a conference, he said that he denounced violence and, on both sides. it wasn't both sides. It was only one side. It was white nationalists, white supremacists, Ku Klux Klans, Nazis, skinheads, whatever you want to call them, against everybody else, every other race. So it wasn't multiple sides. It wasn't both sides. It was only one side. In my opinion of him not standing up and denouncing them for who they were, which was white nationalists, because Donald Trump is a white nationalist. And half of those people that he didn't want to denounce is the people that put him in the seat to be president. That's how he became our president. And if he was to denounce them, then he'd be denouncing himself and what he stands for. And what everyone were upset that he didn't just call them out. They wanted him to call them out for who they was, which were white nationalists. And the Republicans basically got with the Democrats and criticized President Trump for not just calling them out and denouncing white nationalists. I always want to leave you guys with a positive thought of the day and spread good vibes. So here it is. We all know that racism is wrong. We must continue to fight, and we must still overcome. The late great Rosa Parks once said, racism is still with us, but it is up to us to prepare our children for what they have to meet. And hopefully, we shall overcome. I want to send my deepest sympathy out and condolences to Heather Harris' family. May God be with you guys. Heather was an awesome person. R.I.P. Heather, and God bless. Don't forget to leave your comments. If there's a topic you want to discuss, you can email me at adatewitholiviaj@gmail.com. And once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning into my podcast, and I'll talk to you guys later.